We might talk about some interesting things today.
Welcome to the Jack and Jill podcast. This is February 25th, 11:40 a.m., and we are going to tell you a story today. What are we going to tell them a story about?
We're going to talk about our real story, really how we met. We are going to share some things that you guys don't know about us.
Oh, God.
I just got a little bit nervous, not going to lie.
Yeah.
My heart just started beating faster.
How far back does that go, Jill? Do we have to start in 2007?
2007? Is that the right year?
Is that the right year?
It might have been 2006.
We're referring to the year we met. Jill and I were neighbors. We met in college. We sat next to each other in class.
This is the real story. So you guys know that we were neighbors, right? And that we kind of changed our timeline. So this is actually the real timeline of how we met.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Jill.
Okay.
Trying to talk about
Sorry
that.
to interrupt you.
Jill and I were both in college. And we sat next to each other in Greek and Roman mythology.
Yep.
She was a music major. This
is all true.
She's a harpist. You guys already know that. I was a science major, so there was no way we would have ever met. Ever. Because we just weren't taking the same classes. I was in science classes. She was in music classes, but there's this cultural requirement and writing requirement in university here in the US. And so that particular class had satisfied a writing requirement and our cultural requirement.
I was going to say multicultural.
Yeah. So we got to knock it out two at once. So anyway, I sat next to her. And do you remember the first thing I said to you, Jill?
Oh, did you buy the books for this class?
You guys have to understand that when I was in school, I was embarrassingly broke. What else do you remember about me, Jill? Like when you first saw me, what did you notice?
So he would wear the same shorts and shirt combination actually as well to class, like the majority of the time.
I kind of hate you for saying that because I thought you were going to be like, I noticed he was tall.
I did notice that you were tall. That was definitely something I thought.
They were the camo shorts. Yeah. Cool story. Not actually. Those camo shorts were my stepdad's. After my mom kicked him out of the house, I stole them. I cut the legs off of them and I wore them a lot. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, I guess you noticed I was wearing the same clothes a lot. That's fair enough because the first thing I noticed about you were your giant boobs.
So back up just a minute. He was with his kind of friend. Was he your friend?
Step shorts. So he lived down the hallway from me. He was actually Palestinian.
So he actually sat next to me first, and then Jack was on the other side of him. And I was like, man, I wish the other guy was sitting next to me because I kind of want to talk to him. So like the first day of class, I was just talking to him. But yeah, the next day, not the next day, the day after, because it was every other day, wasn't it?
Spiky Tom thinks I said, which books have you read? No. So there's required reading and required books for a particular class. And anyone who's gone to university or bought a college book knows they are over $100. Very expensive. In this particular class, you needed
a lot.
5-6 books.
It was a lot of books. I remember.
That's why I mentioned I was broke as shit, because I sat next to her and I immediately wanted to mooch reading materials off of someone else because I would do this thing where I would try to look up the PDFs online or read off of someone else's. It was like a game I would play. How good of a grade can I get without actually even buying the book? So yeah, textbooks are kind of a scam. Very little changes from one edition to the next. But anyways, that's why I sat next to her and I asked her if she had the books. But the next day when my Palestinian friend was not sitting between us, I joked with Jill and I said, I bet I live farther from campus than you do. And she said, I bet I live farther from campus than you do. And that's when we found out we lived just a couple doors down from each other.
Like literally so close, which a lot of college students didn't live in that area.
We lived completely off campus.
Yeah.
So you have to understand that was
pretty rare.
Exceptionally rare that something like that could happen.
Mm-hmm. So I would just walk to his house. Like it was just a couple minutes away once we started like actually dating.
Yeah. So
yeah.
How did that happen, Jill?
How did we end up dating?
Yeah.
Let's see. So I did ask him if he wanted to study together for the first test. And you almost blew me off, actually. You were like, I don't know. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know?
Did I really?
Yeah. You all of a sudden.
I was super into you and scared of you. So I don't think I ever would have blown you off.
It felt like you were. I remember my mom asking, what about that neighbor? And I was just like, I don't know. I guess he doesn't like me.
Anyways.
But we ended up studying together for the first test and we got the same score.
The same exact score.
Was the first test.
88? Am I remembering?
I thought it was an 86.
Whatever.
It could be an 88.
It was a like mid-level B.
Yeah.
Someone asked what college, Florida State, FSU.
Yeah. Is Ensign in here? Because I feel like he's going to kill me.
Florida State University. Free Shoes University for those of you who are stuck in the 90s. Is that a 90s thing, Lucky Dog? Anyways.
Seminoles.
Yeah. Which I used to be super into college football, but I don't know, the whole NCAA sports assembly line is laughable. Anyway, you asked to study with me. I didn't ask to study with you. Is that what you're saying? I thought I asked you to study with me.
No, you did. And then I followed up by calling you and asking about it. And then that's when I felt like you seemed kind of like apathetic or something, not interested.
I think I was more interested in getting to know you than actually studying. And the pretext to come over was studying, of course, as it is a lot of the time in school when you're trying to hit on a classmate. But Jill came over and we actually studied. Yeah. We really did study. And then what happened, Jill? Tell me.
What do you mean what happened?
What happened that night?
Oh, I stayed over.
She slept in my bed. She lives like 2 minutes walking away from me. And she's like, I'm tired. And then she lays down in my bed. And
I wanted to cuddle.
I am not joking, guys, when I say I laid in that bed with Jill and I did not put a single hand on her. I didn't.
Yeah, literally did not. I was like, what is going on?
Have you ever laid next to a woman with your heart beating out of your chest?
He did not touch me.
About grabbing the booty, thinking about tapping her on the shoulder and telling her to roll over and look at you in the eyes, but only thinking about it, not actually doing it. So we laid there all night. I didn't get much sleep because I was just fucking nervous. And I was trying to play it cool, like I actually did sleep. But yeah, I didn't lay a hand on you, Jill. And was that disappointing to you, or I don't?
Definitely. I mean,
would you?
I was confused.
Hold on.
I was confused.
Would you have fucked me?
No.
You slept in my bed. I could have been anyone. Just kidding. Okay, you can't see the face.
We had already been talking for a little bit, so yeah.
Yeah. What happened after that?
What happened after that? I mean, we went on our first date at some point after that. He went to sushi.
Yeah.
And he locked his keys in the car.
It's called being shy, okay? If you really like a woman, bring her out to sushi. That's because when you're a broke college student and you pay for a sushi dinner, man. Jill, what did I do on our first date before we could even get to the restaurant.
Oh, he locked his keys in his Saturn.
Yeah, I used
his green Saturn.
I had a 1995 5-speed Saturn, which is very glamorous for those of you that don't know. That's sarcasm, by the way. That's not a cool car.
So I drove.
My sunroof was broken open, so anytime it rained, which living in Florida was just about every day in the summer. Yeah. So yeah, I locked my keys in the car before our first date, and we went and got sushi, and then he came back to my house, and what happened, Jill?
Oh God.
What happened, Jill?
I gave him oral sex, and he came into my mouth, which rarely happens.
On the first date.
I'll get to that in just a second. I wanted to finish our story first.
Did I throw a little house party? Is that before?
I feel like that was before our first date.
That was before our first date.
And you had been hooking up with someone that was there. I remember like just feeling like, has he been dating this other person? But she was really cool. She was quite nice to me.
Not in the car. No, it was in my bed.
Oh yeah, it was back at his house.
I came pretty quick. I'm not going to lie, you guys. I was really into Jill. I thought she was gorgeous. Aww. So you have to understand, I'm from the South. I dated girls who would crush Coors Light cans on their heads and dance on tables. And then I met Jill, who is soft-spoken, intelligent.
Am I soft-spoken?
Classy. I was Florida man, and I was dating Florida woman. So that's kind of my experience with women in Florida. Women in Florida are absolute barbarians. They're actually a different race of humans.
Someone was asking how I ended up at Florida State. So Florida State had a harp program, and I auditioned and got in. And my parents were really upset because I turned down, I had a full ride to University of Miami.
For your harp skills.
I just didn't feel, when I went there, I didn't feel at home. And it's also a private school. So if I ended up changing majors, then it would have been like hella expensive.
Hella expensive. You guys, we lived in California for 8 years.
But I was born in Florida. So when I was real young, baby, I was born in South Florida, and then my parents moved to New York, which my parents are both New Yorkers. So they moved back to New York when I was like 8, and I ended up doing middle school and high school, elementary school, all in New York. And then my parents wanted to move back to Florida, and I still wanted to be close to them, and I wanted to live somewhere warmer. So yeah, I applied to schools in Florida. So yeah, that's how I ended up at Florida State.
And yeah.
A harp program? HARP.
Yeah, like a harpist. That GIF Lucky Dog posted. That's a harp. Tallahassee it's all right. It was good for a few years. It was nice.
It was okay. Tallahassee's, it's a fun school.
It has. I've seen some pictures. Well, it has changed a lot. Gazebo, I cannot recreate the O face I made from Jill's first BJ because I would need to have a much younger face. It's not possible. That face has aged. It is no longer with us. No, Bobby Brown was not coaching at Florida State when I was there. Was he?
Yes, he was. I was like, what? Yes.
Fuck.
Come on.
And then it was Jimbo.
Yeah, then Jimbo. I don't even know if Jimbo was there our senior year or not. Because, fun fact, part of the reason why we slightly changed our story is because I wasn't sure about sharing my real age on camera. I was already starting.
Actually, not the main reason.
Not the main reason, but one of the.
You're leading with the reason that's not the main reason.
Okay, sorry. One of the reasons.
Yeah. But the main reason is that you guys have to understand how broke we were. We were about $100,000 in debt. And I specifically remember taking this Excel spreadsheet out and doing the compound interest calculation for Jill. Because Jill did this thing where she would complain about wanting to get married and having kids. When are we going to buy a house? And all these things. And I pulled out a Excel spreadsheet and I did compound interest with a minimum payment on our student loans. And I think we would have been in our mid-40s by the time we paid it off. Well, there were three repayment scenarios. And the conclusion was we're going to be old as fuck. Not old as fuck, but just a significant portion of our best years were going to be behind us by the time we were done with our debt. And that was emotionally crippling for me.
Well, I just remember it causing a little bit of tension between us, like the money issues, which I think happens to lots of couples. We had just moved to the Bay Area and it was very expensive.
San Francisco, for those of you.
Yeah.
So we skipped a whole bunch of shit.
We did. I don't know if you guys want to talk about everything.
No, we do. We need to, Jill. You just you skipped a lot of bases when you're talking about camming and stuff. Immediately.
Oh.
That animal, the bane of my existence. Anyways, the university financing system in the United States is, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, it's completely fucked. I am not a socialist. I don't think school should be free. I think people inherently stop valuing things as much as soon as they become free. I don't think all majors in college are worth having a government subsidy or something. It's just the cost of a college education is crippling here in the United States, especially depending on what university you go to, if it's in-state, whatnot, if it's private. But that's basically how we ended up camming, is we were in that debt. So fast forward to 2009, 10, 2010.
2010, we're going there.
Jill and I, we split up.
We broke up for about a year and a half.
Yeah. So I finished college. I finished my bachelor's degree in Tallahassee, and I was moving back home to my home city. And I'll get to that, Lude. And Jill and I did long distance. And by long distance, I mean 2.5 hours driving. And I think we lasted a few months on that. You guys have to understand, I think a lot of you already understand what it's like being a man in your early 20s, just starting out your life. You have nothing. You have no experience. You have no money. I probably wasn't looking like a very appealing partner to Jill. And more than anything, I was kind of a party animal around that time. And Jill, one thing about Jill is she does not drink. She does not do drugs. Very well-behaved individual. She will occasionally, right, babe?
Yeah, on occasion. And I mean, I do like weed, but obviously not these days.
Not been doing that in a while. Yeah. So when I wanted to stay out late, she kind of just got irritated with me. And she's like, this is not the stable man figure I'm looking for in my life. So she left me rather unceremoniously over a phone call. And she immediately started dating someone else she met at the dog park.
Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh.
Yeah, we're going there, Joe.
So he is leaving out some things. We had been having some issues towards the end of our relationship. And I think that we were in different places in our lives. Yeah. And I was finishing graduate school and I'd worked really hard on my master's degree. And I was just like, okay, this is the next thing. My parents, I think really instilled
Jill
in me
keeps
like
saying my parents. And I think that's probably one of the biggest differences between us is her parents are so involved in her life. And I was basically feral.
we just had different kind of structure that we wanted for our lives at the time. And I was ready to get married and have kids. I'd wanted that from a very young age.
And you have to understand,
Yeah.
I was raised, both of my parents have been married 3 times.
Yeah.
Each. And my father constantly telling me,
And we had a
kids.
few things just like,
don't have kids. They're expensive.
yeah, he has had that.
Because I have 2 half siblings and my father has horrible taste in women. See my mom. And my mom has horrible taste in men. See my 2 stepfathers. So I was like, fuck it. I'm not getting married. And another thing conspicuously missing from this that I will not stray from is the fact that I used to get completely shit-faced. I used to go out and party.
Like blackout.
I would
drunk.
drink until I blacked out. And I thought it was cool and fun and funny. And I would meet new people and I would make all these friends. And we would go out to the bar and we'd all see how much we could drink. And I think a lot of people kind of go through that phase. Some people never get out of it. And I have some friends that never got out of that phase, unfortunately. I'm thankful I did. And in part it is because Jill left me and she was just like, I'm sick of your shit. Get it together. And you have to understand, by the time she left me, I had found a job.
He had a great job.
I was not drinking as much nearly at all because I was back in my hometown and I didn't really have my friends around me.
But we were long distance.
And the
times that you visited.
I was in a college town and I would go out and get wasted, yes.
And yeah, I ended up meeting someone else who was not a drinker and he felt very safe to me. And yeah, that did happen. So
to clarify, like, I don't have a drinking problem.
He does not.
I almost never drink. The only time I drink is like literally on cam. So I just want to like clarify that.
But yeah, we ended up dating other people, and
yeah, she left me for dog park guy,
and him and I did not work out at all. I think it lasted about 10 months or something like that, which is short for me. I'm usually with people.
Did you move in with him immediately?
No, not immediately.
Which broke my heart.
No, not immediately. It was at least a semester because he was in summer school finishing. Yeah.
You guys, at around the time Jill broke up with me, I had finally, right out of college, I graduated in 2009. So just to set the stage, going back to being a fresh graduate, young man with credentials and a job market that can only be described as fucking hopeless. You guys remember 2009 in the United States, right? Or just in many countries, actually. So right out of school, I got 3 jobs. I worked as a line cook at a restaurant. I would occasionally bar back. I would occasionally do dish, but mostly a line cook. Then I worked for a contractor doing roofing, painting, and my least favorite of all, sandblasting. So sandblasting is a miserable fucking thing in Florida. It is literally where you use something that looks like a pressure washer, but instead of spraying water, it sprays sand. And you have to wear this huge fucking suit and like welder looking helmet, and it's 100 degrees out and you're sweating and you have sand in every conceivable spot of your body. It's terrible. I also had 2 other jobs. I worked for a political campaign going door to door. I'm not going to tell you what campaign it was. Sorry. And then I also got a job with the U.S. Census because the census was going on that year and they needed people to go door to door to count people. So those were the jobs I was all working at the same time. I was hopelessly underemployed during that time. But my mom was also unemployed and at that time. And so things were pretty rough around that time. This is right before my mom's house got foreclosed on. Kind of a rough time for me. You know, I'm moving back in with your mom and then like trying to help with bills and it just like not being enough. And then your girlfriend leaves you. But I did get a good job. I got a great job at an engineering firm.
Well, you had the job after we broke up when you were already at that place.
Someone asked what my degree is in. It's in environmental science. Yeah, rough time for everyone, for sure. What happened after that, Jill? We went our separate ways. Like,
yeah, we didn't really talk a whole lot.
I didn't fight as hard as I should have for you. Looking back, I know I called you.
I made it really difficult too, because I was like at a point where I felt like I had moved on and found like security and like happiness. And
wow, that was quick. I'm just kidding.
And then,
well, I would call you, and then what would you say?
What would I say?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I was just kind of dismissive.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly what I would say, but
then fellas, write this down, because I prepaid for flowers for Valentine's Day.
That was really hard.
It was like in December that I bought the flowers, I think. I was like, I'm chronically forgetful. And I was like, I'm going to prepay for these fucking flowers for Valentine's Day 2 months in advance. And I actually, fun fact, completely forgot that I ordered those flowers. Yeah, I saved myself $300. The prices go up, right? It's like flights. And I think Jill getting those flowers and having to make 3 phone calls, like, hey, did you send me flowers? Because I didn't put anything on the card. Hey, did you send me flowers? No. Hey, did you send me flowers? No. I think you got through your boyfriend and then your sister, and then you were like, oh shit, Jack sent me flowers.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have to understand too, and he doesn't necessarily, I think, like, I don't know if you don't believe this.
That's a lot of words, Jill.
But making the decision to not be with him was one of the hardest decisions I ever had made. I like cried on the phone talking to my mom about it continuously until I was just like, okay, I think this is what I need to do for myself right now.
Yeah, it's fine. I know I give you like shit about it, and it's
I do feel bad about it.
Almost all in jest, because there's an inconvenient reality for me, is that I wasn't a good partner. I was a young guy who didn't have his priorities in the right place. And having someone that I loved leave me was like one of the most formative experiences in my life. After that, I got my shit together and I was determined that I would not make the same mistakes again. So it actually ended up doing a ton for me. I think there's probably some guys listening that have had a partner leave them. And, you know, the next day they're like, fuck this. I'm going to the gym. I'm going to go on runs. I'm going to look good. I'm going to start eating right. I'm going to read books. I'm going to, you know, invest in myself. I want to be a good partner. I wanted to develop good habits. And that's kind of what happened to me after Jill left me. I was like, I threw myself into my work. I started exercising a lot. I was a better person after that. And it kind of sucks that that's what it took, but that's kind of why that happened and what happened. So when we started dating other people, which the people I dated, man, let me tell you.
Both of us had some interesting situations.
I got on this site called Plenty of Fish.
I was on there too. Okay.
Plenty of Fish.
Plenty of Fish sucks, by the way.
Does anyone out there...
Don't use it.
Did you ever join Plenty of Fish? Yeah. As listen, people are laughing right now. Plenty of yuck.
Yeah, seriously.
My first date I went on a date with a girl who was a nurse. And I asked her as part of a date what her favorite TV show was. And you know what she said? She said Squidbillies. Jill, she told me her favorite TV show was Squidbillies.
I know, you've told me this.
I can't.
I know all about the nurse.
Tell you how disgusted I was. I still had sex with her.
How many times did you guys have sex? Just a few, right?
Like 12.
Really? 12?
15 times.
That's actually quite a bit.
She used to drive over to my house. Or my mom's house, sorry.
That's quite a few times.
Squidbillies is it's a TV show made for adults. It's on Adult Swim. It's basically these squid are like hillbillies, and the show follows their antics. I actually haven't watched a full episode. I started to watch an episode with her and then almost died.
Did you tell her that it sucked?
No.
Oh.
I wanted pussy, Jill.
Oh, gotcha.
I introduced her to my friends too. And she was like, wow, you introduced me to your friends. And I was like, yep.
What did they think of her?
They were dismissive, and I mean, they weren't dismissive. They just weren't interested. They kind of knew I was in a rebound phase. And I was just, yeah, it wasn't good. That woman could have been anyone.
I doubt that. You had to have at least found her attractive.
If I was down bad enough, it could have been a dude. I don't know.
Stop. That's not true.
It's not true.
But who did you end up dating after that? Like, seriously.
In high school, I had this huge crush on this girl. And she was cool. She started off as like a nerd on the swim team. And then she quit swim and started cheering and became like super cool overnight. And so I never had the balls to ask her out. We were friends when she was like a little more nerdy. And then when she got into cheering, she like became very distant from me because I wasn't necessarily a cool dude. So I started dating her. And really good person, by the way.
Yeah, I've never met her, but she sounds quite sweet. I actually wanted to introduce our exes to each other because I thought that they would be a good match.
I don't think they would have been a good match. You think what was one of the main problems with your ex, Jill?
He had a pretty low sex drive.
She liked to fuck.
Well, apparently after we broke up, he said all he wanted to do was fuck me. So that was quite interesting for me. But he's
just trying to get you back.
Yeah, he was trying anything at that point. But yeah, I had to initiate sex like all the time. If we were to have sex, it was like,
which blows my mind because I can count on like one hand how many times you've initiated sex with me, and I have not said shit for a week.
Well, you initiate a lot of sex.
I do, but I've waited purposely for a week, and then my balls were ready to
There's
explode.
no way that you've waited a week. You've at least grabbed my ass or like made some sort of like passive sexual comment. But yeah, he was, like I said, he was someone that felt very safe to me. I was attracted to him. I was attracted to the kind of person he is.
And which was what? What was?
He was very like cerebral.
What's cerebral mean, Joe?
He was into astrology.
Oh God.
Bob Dylan.
Oh
He
God.
played the guitar, and he was a surfer.
Did he smoke tons of weed?
And he did smoke weed, yeah.
Oh my God, he's so cerebral. Bob Dylan and weed. Oh man.
He was very calming, and I felt like safe being around him, and that's what I needed at the time.
Yeah, that's Jill. He's literally 2 bad habits away from being a dirty hippie.
He wasn't a dirty hippie, though.
Yeah, because he came from money.
Exactly.
Yeah. Someone said, Jack, you weren't cool. I was not cool in high school now. You guys just have to understand who I was when I was younger and like all the shit that was going on. Right when I was going into high school, I was, around 14, 15 years old. My mother was going through her last divorce, or she was about to kick out. This is a fucking process. My stepdad, who is a great guy, He really helped raise me, and he was like my father figure. Had developed a severe drug problem, first drinking problem, then cocaine, and then he became addicted to crack, unfortunately. So I was dealing with that at home. So when I went to school, I was kind of quiet. I didn't come from money, and one of the ways people are cool, at least in my school, was they just like drove a nice car or had nice clothes.
That's most people. Like most schools, I would say. My school too.
I didn't have those things, and I kind of had my like 2 close friends, and I was like always quiet and just like kind of upset. So I didn't talk much in my early high school years, and I didn't kind of get a good group of friends and confidence until I started playing sports. I was actually a really bad student all through middle school. And as soon as I got into sports, I got good grades. I started getting better grades. I had friends that their metric of coolness wasn't, how high they could get or how many beers they could drink. It was, it was making good grades was cool. Winning matches and dedication, commitment to things was cool. So that's kind of like where my life turned around. Yeah. So that's kind of like who I was in high school. I was a little bit quiet. I was cool in my like little group of friends, but anyways.
Yeah, we ended up going backtracking a little bit.
Yeah, so I was dating this girl that I had really had a huge crush on all through high school. And I got a phone call
from me.
From Jill.
I was wanting to get back together with him. And my mom was like, just give him a call, And I was like, I really don't think he wants to talk to me after, us breaking up and me dating someone else so quickly. But I gave it a shot, and he was just like, I'm dating someone. I have a girlfriend. And yeah, he did not seem interested, and I was pretty bummed. And unfortunately, soon after that, I met someone else and started dating them. So, yeah, like I said, I am a serial monogamist.
Jill can't be single. She called me up and she said, someone asked what sports I played. I was a wrestler. I wrestled.
Yeah.
I really liked football. I used to play so much football, but I didn't play football on an actual team. So I was kind of scared to try out for football, but I tried out for wrestling because a lot of people that were going out for wrestling hadn't wrestled before. And I feel like I was starting on an equal footing, and it kind of made me into a badass. I really liked, I wasn't like a huge fighter in high school. I got in like 6 or 7 fights, and I was always whipping ass.
Thank you, Matt.
Anyways, Jill called me up and she said, I miss you. I remember you said that. I remember
I did miss him.
I was standing on the side of my rental house that I had with 2 of my buddies that I had gone to school with in my hometown. And you told me you missed me.
I've never felt the way that I felt about anyone other than Jack. Like our relationship is very special and unique.
Are you saying you love me?
Of course I love you. Even after, like before the camming and all the business stuff, which changed our relationship even more.
Fundamentally changed it.
Yeah. He's like the love of my life.
I agree with everything you say. I feel the same way, but the difference between me and you, I think, is I thought I was in love before.
Mm-hmm.
My serious first high school girlfriend. Have you guys, I'm sure a lot of people can relate to this. You find someone and you really like them. You tell them you love them, and you just kind of decide for yourself that this is what love is. You're like, I love this person. This is what love is. I guess this is what it is. I've been with this person for 2 years. I must love them. And that's not true. When you love someone, there's not a fucking doubt in your mind. Like, you get feelings in your chest. You would die for them. And the first few people I had told, I think maybe one, maybe two people I just told one person I loved them, and I convinced that I did love them, but I didn't. I just thought I was going through the motions. And yeah, you're the first person I really ever loved. And the only person I've ever loved.
Mm. Anyway. I don't know. You guys, I didn't have a lot of sexual experiences before Jack. We definitely had a difficult time at it.
Their sex was terrible for a few months.
Yeah, I mean, honest. I had a hard time.
She didn't like it. It didn't feel good.
But I wasn't like, oh, huge cock, like
no.
I don't know.
Jill's not a size queen or anything.
No, I thought it was bigger, but I wasn't like. It wasn't really until we started camming that I knew like big dicks were like a thing, like people were into that kind of thing. So I just knew that it was like difficult for me. And then we like all of a sudden at one point, just like the sex got better.
It happened over time. You're just looking back at it. It may have seemed.
Well, I'm saying at some point it just got better, but it was not good.
Gazebo says love is chemicals. That's right. Love is chemicals. And that's why I bought some oxytocin from Amazon.com and then sprayed it all over Jill. And that's how I made her fall in love with me. That's a joke, but I actually did do that. But after we were already in love, you can buy oxytocin from Amazon and then you can spray it on your partner when they're not looking and try to make them fall in love with you.
Thanks, Extreme. Appreciate you.
So if you're listening to this at a later date, this is conversations being done live, and we are occasionally answering people.
Yeah.
In the audience. Peach, when I got on the internet, I like wasn't into my penis or my body. I was never been a show off or anything like that. It wasn't until I got desperate and put my penis on the internet that people were like, hey, that's, a decent size. You should make money with that thing. Anyways, after Jill called me up, I broke up with my girlfriend after like 3 months after that. And I think during that time, during this 3 months where I was trying to wrap things up, again, have you guys ever been with someone that you didn't want to be with and that you were like, fuck, I need to break up with this person. You just don't know how and when to do it. And you're kind of just waiting for the right time. That's what I was doing. So when I finally broke up with her, I realized Jill had been dating someone else already. Again, Jill, can you tell us about that wonderful person you were dating?
I mean, this is a person. Sometimes when people ask me how many people have you had sex with, sometimes I forget about him because I just want to erase him from my life, like completely.
Where did you meet?
Oh man.
Why
are you doing this to me?
I think I know the answer to this.
Okay, so it was at my place of work at the time, and I was working in substance abuse.
Oh man, red flag.
And he said that he was waiting for his friend who was going there. And yeah, he actually used to be a patient there.
And did you know that at the time?
I did not. He lied to me about a lot of things. And that was probably the first lie, right? His friend was really going there. But yeah, he used to be a patient there. I didn't know that. And yeah, every time he'd see me, he would give me all these compliments and he was so charismatic. And I had just ended the relationship with the guy that was like not fucking me and like giving me attention.
So you ended a relationship with cerebral Bob Dylan.
Yeah. I broke up with him, which was terrible. He left me like crying voicemails for like weeks, which was horrible.
And then I was unavailable.
Then I called him.
And then when I was unavailable, you started dating this guy.
Yes. He was kind of giving I sound like such a mess. I was really young.
Listen,
okay. I was
just
really young.
I was just going to say you were young and naive. I don't think there's anything wrong with being young and naive. So one of the great dynamics in life is men who are a little bit older.
He was 7 years older than me.
Taking advantage and manipulating younger women using, the tried and true strategies of just telling them what they want to hear. Oh my God, you're beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're intelligent, you're smart, foot in the door. He
just made me feel special at the time. And let's just say that relationship didn't last long because I started what
kind of drugs was he on, Jill?
I don't know all the drugs he was taking, but I did know that he was doing coke, Xanax, painkillers, and I think he would occasionally drink. But he was
very Florida man.
Yeah, I mean, I could start, when the more I hung out with him, the more I could tell that he was like fucked up half the time and that he was constantly like moving new places. And the very short time that we dated, he would like suddenly be like living somewhere else. And
it's a red flag.
It was just constantly change. And then he started having a temper, and then he started accusing me of like making things up because I would drive him places, right? Because he had a DUI and he couldn't drive. I didn't know that when I first started dating him.
Why couldn't he drive?
Because he had a DUI.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was curious.
And
wow, you really chose it.
I remember the day that I broke up with him, I had a dentist appointment on a Saturday, and he basically accused me of lying about going to the dentist. He was like, "You don't really have an appointment." And I was like, "Yeah, I have an appointment. Going to the dentist, not a big deal." And he wanted like the phone number. He said that nobody has dentist appointments on Saturdays. He like blew up at me and like freaked out. I dropped him off at work and like never saw him again. But unfortunately, things like continued on from there because he called my place of work. He told me that I was like fucking all the patients there.
He told them.
He told my boss I had left that job and was going back to school.
Because why?
Because I had a patient's. This is like opening such a can of worms for me. The place I was working at, I had a patient and his wife OD'd during the time that I was working with him. And he was like following me home, like would not leave me alone. And I had basically like a horrible anxiety attack and like quit my job and was just like, I chose the wrong career. I can't handle this. I broke up with the love of my life. I went through a very bad time personally and just felt like I needed to start over. And he was like making my life a living hell. He would constantly call my number and like threaten me. And it was really I don't know. I didn't know how to deal with it. And then
this is right around the time we started talking again regularly.
Yeah. I changed my phone number and then I called him again and was just like,
I miss you.
Can we like try to make this work? Because I'm, So it was really hard. I was like,
but that was also like a formative, as painful as it was a formative experience in your life.
And we decided to like meet up in where he was living.
No.
What? No.
We chose a spot and you were in South Florida.
That's right. We did that first.
And I was in North Florida.
I think we met in like Cocoa Beach or something.
I think we met in Cocoa Beach.
Right.
We rented a hotel room and we were just going to see what it was like to see each other again.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll never forget about that trip. And you already know what I'm going to say. Jill and I went out to dinner, walked on the beach. We caught up. Our dogs got to see each other, which was like a big thing.
Oh, yeah. My dog was obsessed with him. And he was like, oh, my God.
Yeah. And Jill gets ready for bed. We're in this hotel room. There's one bed in there. Jill takes her clothes off and she's wearing this very, very sexy lingerie.
Oh my God.
And she looks at me and she kind of gives me this like look with her doe eyes. And she goes, okay, good night. And she gets in bed And she rolls over and sticks her butt out. And I'm just kind of sitting there. And I'm like, dude, what? Yeah, it's about a year and a half
but
after
we
splitting
ended up
up.
having sex.
Yeah, if you could call that sex.
Oh my God.
It wouldn't go in. It wouldn't go in. It's okay though. It had already been a point in my life where sex didn't mean nearly as much anymore. When you're young, sex means so much. It's so dumb. Like if the sex is, well, sex didn't mean as much to me by then. And it was more about the person, by then.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it eventually got better again, but it's kind of like that with me. Just like after I had the baby, like could not put it back in.
Jill, you're going forward way too far again.
Sorry.
So then this got us into this weird situation, and you guys listening, and gals listening probably happened to you before. You have sex with an ex, and then you don't really talk about what it means. And you kind of say, you think to yourself, if you've got balls, you'll say it out loud. You'll say, what does this mean? Are we back together again? Or
oh yeah,
we fucked, and one person might think this means we're back together, the other person might not, or they both may think it's casual, or they, in an ideal world, you're on the same page. What happened next was interesting.
Yes.
I had been at my job for a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And they had offered me a promotion, a conditional promotion. And they said, if you move to San Francisco, we will give you a promotion. At the time, I was making $45,000 out of college. I was pretty proud of myself. In Florida, being a new graduate, around 2010, getting a job, making $45,000. Very proud of myself. They were willing to almost double my salary, which I didn't know at the time is a completely horizontal move when you move to one of the most expensive states that also happens to have state income tax. So you're moving to a place where the cost of living is quite literally double, where you now have to pay 9% of your money in state taxes. Food's more expensive. Gas is $1 more. Everything about being alive
the rent
in the San Francisco Bay Area is
the rent is wild.
So expensive.
It's wild.
So me thinking I was a badass moving out to San Francisco to make more money was really just not a reality. And at that time, Jill and I started doing long distance. And that happened for about a year, right?
Yeah, we did a year long distance because I had gone back to school again. Oh gosh. So I already
you went back to school because you were working in substance abuse. You met the crazy ex-boyfriend, and then you had the stalker who lost his wife to an overdose and was stalking you. And
I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. And then I had,
I think that's like an important point though. Almost none of us know what we're doing when we're 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 with our careers. It's the disconnect between academia and real life is so wide.
But I also hate feeling like a failure, and my parents, weren't like super wealthy or anything like that. So I felt like I was really disappointing to them that like they invested all this money in music since I was like a small child. Didn't end up, completing.
Jill changed her major. My
music, staying in with music.
A year after we met.
Yeah.
In college.
I gave it a year and I was just like, I'm not happy. And I felt like my parents were kind of, they always support me.
My parents.
I'm sorry. It's really important to me
I think it's
that
cute.
I care about them.
I think it's cute. Your parents are awesome.
They are.
In their own way.
Yeah.
I wish I could say the same about my parents are awesome in their own way. My mom also happens to be a schizophrenic.
She is not schizophrenic.
Sorry, crazy. Crazy is a good blanket term.
Anyway, I wanted them to be proud of me. I wanted to be proud of myself. So going back to school a third time after I already had completed my master's at that point. So I was going to school for a third degree.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I was like, oh, come on, get it together. So I went back to school again, and I was in school when he moved to San Francisco. So we did a year-long distance because I did like a FAST program. And then I was able to arrange for my like clinicals to be in California so that we could be together. But because I was not working, we lived off the money that he had worked so hard to save. So at that point, Jack was like paying for everything while we were living somewhere really expensive.
I had saved up the impressive sum of $8,000. Okay, go pee. I'll keep him busy.
Continue?
I'm gonna. I had saved $8,000 when Jill finally moved in with me. And this was a really weird stage because we had gotten back together, but we were kind of different people by then. Years had gone by since we had seriously been together. And she was working an unpaid internship. And I just proceeded to burn through every fucking dollar I had living in that godforsaken city or godforsaken metropolitan area, because I was living in Walnut Creek at the time, if any of you guys are familiar with the Bay Area. So I burned through all my money. And I think I had gotten down to $500. And I was scared because I was really trying to impress Jill. I wanted to make her happy. I really wanted to make it work this time, but I was like out of money. So I sat her down and I was just like, hey, things are pretty rough right now. I get you're working and you're working very hard. She used to drive an hour for like 45 minutes to this town called Davis to do her internship. I was just like, I don't know what we're going to do. So we started trying all these things out. The first thing we did was try to like refinish furniture and like resell merchandise and stuff, which is silly. It's so much work for the money you get. And the next thing we did, which was actually a little bit better, we lived in a pet-friendly apartment complex. And I put up flyers everywhere that was like, hey, I'll walk your dog. If you're going out of town, I'll feed your animals. And so Jill and I started doing pet sitting. And that was actually pretty decent because I didn't have to commute anywhere. And so that was nice for a while. It was a little extra income. And that brought me right to break even with my job and taking care of her and everything and rent and all that stuff. So I was like, had begun to break even. And then this is actually what happened next is the catalyst to what changed everything. Because I'm not sure things would have changed if it didn't happen. The apartment complex left a notice on our door and said we were no longer allowed to advertise our pet sitting services at the community bulletin board or anywhere else on the property because it broke a rule that you're not allowed to advertise for commercial purposes. So we were effectively out of business in our apartment complex, and the thought of driving to people's house to walk their dogs, we just didn't have the time for that on top of our schedule, 9-to-5 schedule, commuting, which is a nightmare. Getting home around 6:37, then driving somewhere else to take care of someone else's animals when you have your own. It didn't work.
The traffic. So bad.
Because of that, we're back in our situation where we were minus every month. And Jill ended up getting a job in promotional modeling.
This is true.
Jill got a job as a promotional model at, was it the Sonoma Raceway?
I did like a few gigs there. I did some at the Oracle.
Why don't you tell them about your little promotional modeling stint, who you met while doing it? I'm going to go pee.
Okay. Yeah, I just answered an ad. I didn't really know what promotional modeling was, but it paid like, I don't know, I think like 22 an hour or something. And I was like, oh, like not bad for a side hustle, you know? So I applied, and I think my first event was at the Sonoma Raceways. I think for like the army or something like that. Basically, like you get people to come up to enter contests. And I think really what they're doing is like selling your information, right? I didn't really realize that at the time, but yeah, it's basically what you're doing. They just use like attractive women or, you know, young women to talk to people and get them to come over to the station, whatever is being advertised. And yeah, that's how I met the first person that we did threesomes with. So that was Gia. And yeah, I thought she was like so cute. And I ended up being like a leader for like a bunch of events and like would choose her every time to like be on my team. I did like Caterpillar. I don't know. I did a bunch of different events, working for like different companies, but it was fun. I actually enjoyed it. But yeah, that's how I met her. And yeah, I at some point had watched a documentary on HBO called Sex Now, Sex On. Those are both the names of documentaries.
Sex Now.
Was it Sex Now?
Yeah.
And there was a girl on there named Emma Lovett, and she was doing threesomes with her boyfriend,
Eddie.
And I was like, wow, it seems like they're really successful. Maybe we could do something like this, and maybe we could have our first threesome. I don't know. I'm feeling crazy. Like, let's try it. And yeah, that's sort of how things kind of
We just wanted to show her like what.
But I don't even know how I asked her. I can't remember. Like,
I think we were just like, yeah, we're like live streaming.
Like, do you want to make money with us or something?
No,
like that?
I think y'all were just friends, and I
just talked to her.
So
about
we
it?
basically had ulterior motives, I think, going into it, but it was under the pretext that we were just going to kind of show her.
But I was already friends with her. It wasn't like I like was screening her as like someone to have on our show. Yeah, it was actually me.
You guys initiated the threesome. Neither one of us, because when we got online, I was being my normal nervous self. And we were on a different site.
Oh, shite. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, Gia was so cute. I've never met anyone that looked really like her, you know? She was unique. Yeah, Jack's going to get a battery, so just hang in there. Yeah, she was our first guest on Chatterbait, yeah.
There we go. Sorry about that.
What was the question?
Anyway.
Or don't. I'm embarrassed of those early days, to be honest. We're just like a little bit less polished. Let's just say that.
A little bit? Jesus.
Yeah.
We have 2 pups.
Yeah, we're not supposed to say the other website, but yeah, she wasn't on Chatterbait.
It's called Livegasm.
But that's where we started, and we did just couple stuff.
Live Miasm.
It was really just the two of us starting out.
Yeah, it was just the two of us. And so there's 2, if you guys aren't familiar with the streaming business model, there's 2 business models for live streaming. One is premium and one is freemium. The difference between premium and freemium is premium sites, you're not allowed to be nude in public chat, and it's privates only, ticket shows only. That's a good question, Broken Plaything. I'll definitely get back to it. So we were on a premium site first, where you have to just sit in public chat, seduce someone into hitting the go private button, and then we would start having sex. And for a man, the premium business model is real life hell. Because as soon as someone hits the private button, it is like a race to get your dick hard. And you guys know that doesn't just happen.
You only get paid if you're taken to private.
Right.
And someone could private you for like a minute.
There's a minimum.
2 hours. Was there a minimum?
I'm not 100% sure actually. But basically, as soon as someone came, which was usually 5 to 10 minutes into our private show, sometimes even shorter, they would end the private show and give you blue balls. And it was after like the 4th or 5th time of having to do that, you guys know dicks, they run out of energy. And I started having like issues, and I think we were a few months into this adventure, and I looked at you and I said, I quit.
And I was like, we need to make more money though.
I quit this fucking site. I hate it.
Yeah, he said he was pretty much done.
Yeah, it had like a tiered payment system where like, you know, they would take 60% of your money until you made a certain amount, and then if you crossed like certain thresholds, they would increase your share, which made us work hard, but also like worked me to a point where my body kind of gave up on me.
I mean, we were already tired from our other jobs.
Working 9 to 5, yeah.
So I think on top of that, it was too much.
I quit. I fucking quit. I got upset. I wasn't upset with her. I was upset with myself, and just I was like, this isn't worth it. And then I came home one day. I think like 5 or 6 days went by, and I was like, fuck, we need money. And I was like, I found this website called Chatterbait.
And I had never heard of Chatterbait. So it was all like new to me.
I had never taken Viagra in my life, dude. So I didn't know, man. You know, honestly, things like that. If you're a 20-year-old or 22 or 23 at that time.
You're older than that.
I was older than that. If you're in your early 20s and you start taking Viagra, that is going to catch up with you. I know plenty of dudes. When you need to get hard, sometimes there's things you think of. There's places you touch yourself. There's sensitive spots. There's places you press. You just rely on Viagra. You're not going to learn those mental exercises, those physical spots. You're not going to develop those coping mechanisms. And when basically it's going to catch up with you. That's all I'm trying to say. Don't use that shit until you get old. Trust me. I know a lot of dudes in the industry that can't fucking get hard anymore without some kind of injection or drug or something. So just my quick spiel on that. But anyway, we found Chatterbait, and instantly we got on, and we got 100 token tip.
Oh.
And
that was $100.
I'm a fucking genius. So the first thing I thought was, oh my God, someone just tipped us $100.
We were freaking out.
And for clarity, 1 token is not $1. It actually is the diminutive sum of 1 nickel. So he'd been given $5, not $100.
And we were excited.
Yeah, gold versus tokens. Gold is on a different site.
We never did
that other site.
We never went on there.
It was the same concept though. Like we didn't know the denominations. And so like any rational human having money thrown at them, we just started having sex. And that was our first time.
Yeah. And I remember us joking around about like not knowing each other and
because we didn't, and this is around the time where we had just moved in with each other after doing long distance for a year.
Yes.
Long distance for a year on top of being apart for a year and a half. So I really felt like we didn't really know each other.
Yeah, it was like kind of getting to know each other again
all
in
over
some
again.
ways. Yeah.
Which was rocky at times.
Mm-hmm.
I think both of us wanted to try to make it work so bad.
Yes.
There were a few fights though, mostly about money. You know, money doesn't buy happiness, but if you're in a relationship and you're having money problems, it's pretty close to dooming. You know, I watched my parents have money problems my whole life. It will doom a relationship.
No, we didn't wear masks, but like our social medias were all locked. Well, actually, we didn't have a social media for like a while. And then when we did, it was locked. We tried to be kind of careful about stuff, I guess, but we never wore masks.
A lot of girls stream on more than one site at once. I've done that before. It will backfire on you if you have any bit of an audience. As soon as your fans start realizing, or your viewers start realizing you're talking to someone else and engaging with a different audience, they're like, yeah, fuck you, I'm out. So I've done it before. Thanks, Hads.
Aw, appreciate you guys.
Yeah, better to cry in a BMW than a bicycle. It has warm seats. No, in all seriousness, like we were having, you know, like I mentioned before, we were having really bad money problems. And the dreaded spreadsheet exercise that showed we'd be breaking even in our 40s because of our wonderful education system here in the United States was the real big catalyst to our starting to stream. So when Jill and I started really streaming, it was 2014. We moved from Walnut Creek to this small town called Alameda in the Bay Area. I'm sure someone out there knows what Alameda is. It's a small, this is going to sound fucking glamorous, but it's a small island. Technically, it's an island.
Alameda's so cute.
Yeah. Alameda Island. Yeah.
Alameda.
Yeah. And so Jill and I lived in Alameda, and every day I would take the ferry into San Francisco for work. I worked, right next to the Bay Bridge. I took the ferry, and cool. I'm shocked how many people know exactly.
I would drop him off
at the ferry station, or I would walk, or I would bike occasionally.
Occasionally you would bike.
Yeah. You grew up in Oakland?
But a lot of times, you know, Jack's waking up late.
Cool fitness.
You know, the things you do in the morning before work where you're like, fuck, I'm late.
There's two kinds of people. There's people that wake up early, they have their coffee, they read the news and stuff. And then there's people that sleep through 10 minutes of their alarm clock and then get up and then proceed to sprint through their entire routine. And I'm the second person.
So, yeah, we would rush. I'd walk the dogs and then take him to the ferry. And then I would go to my job. And I actually worked very close to where we lived. So it was very nice. That was the one great thing about living in Alameda for me. Was I had a short commute, but he did have to take the ferry.
Yeah, it was crazy. Jill would drive me to the ferry station, and then I would ride a boat, and then I would walk. So I would take 3 types of transportation. I would take a car, a boat, and then my feet. I worked right off Pine Street in San Francisco, right close to the old stock exchange building there. Cool. Pacifica, Tiburon. You probably in 2016, and I was there until 2019. Yeah, I was in the Five Eye all the time. That's where I worked, the financial district.
Yeah. I that's like my kind of town. Is everything's kind of close. That traffic isn't bad.
You used to dance at a studio in Alameda.
Oh, really?
Wild.
Okay, cool.
When did we quit our jobs, Jill?
3 years ago.
We quit our job 3 years ago. So Jill and I started camming in 2014. 2015 was rough. 2015 is where we really started getting our rhythm. we were still using a Logitech. 2016, I think, is the first year.
I don't know what to do with all these questions.
Look at who's in here. Hey man, thanks for coming to see us.
What?
Hey, Outcome.
It's been a while.
That's someone who knows who's with us in those years that we're talking about right now.
Hope you're doing okay.
2016, 2017.
I think about you time to time, and I'm like, I hope he's doing all right. I hope you're, things are going well.
I think 2016 was the first year Jill and I made as much from camming as we did from our normal jobs. And starting 2014 until 2019, we worked this crazy, I don't know how else to put it, suicidal schedule.
It was so bad.
So Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, we would work our vanilla jobs, our normal jobs. I had the same job at an engineering firm in the financial district. And then Jill worked.
I worked in the rehab department of a skilled nursing facility.
Yeah. And then on Saturday and Sunday mornings, we would cam.
Mm-hmm.
And you see what Fox said? He goes $1,000 tip. Nice. Yeah. So
we were just working a lot.
We were working so much. I remember distinctly a few things stick out for me from those years is my coworkers constantly saying, dude, you look so tired. What did you do this weekend? And I just remember lying constantly.
Yeah. It's constant like
because we had no life.
Yeah. You're literally living a double life, and people, it's weird, like wanting to tell people, but not at the same time, and just constantly lying to everyone in your life about, what you're doing on the weekends.
Have ever been recognized in public? Yeah, a few times. Mostly at the airport. Actually, the gentleman that's in here right now, Outcome, is we ran into him at the airport. And he comes running up to us. I'll never forget this. It was in the Newark airport. And he goes, "You're never going to believe this."
And my heart was like, what is happening?
I thought he was about to hand me my wallet and be like, yo, you drop this 100 feet backwards.
I don't know. It felt different.
But he was like, "I'm Outcome." And we're like,
what?
No fucking way.
Crazy.
Yeah, Outcome, who's in chat right now. So that was wild. Anyways, we were working 9 to 5, 7 days a week for 5 years. And an important fact missing during that time, I enrolled to get my master's.
Oh, yeah.
So working my normal corporate job, camming on Saturday and Sunday, also getting my master's at the same time.
He did not sleep.
I didn't sleep.
He did not sleep.
Developed pretty significant anxiety and insomnia during that time. Mm-hmm. And the anxiety was really related to my corporate job and mostly public speaking, because we had the new role I was taking, I had to public speak a lot. And since I was chronically behind at work, because I always worked weekends doing camming, I was always behind. And then I felt nervous in front of my work peers because I was not as proficient and ahead of where I should be. And when you're standing up in front of a bunch of people and you feel dumb, it's a horrible feeling.
Thank you guys. Sweet of you.
I really appreciate that, you guys.
That.
It has been a while. Appreciate that. And I think you were the first one to quit your job, right?
I was, because they were changing. So often when you work in rehab, the rehab company changes a lot, right? If the nursing facility isn't being run, like the rehab company isn't being run by the same company. Anyway, they were changing. Jill
got 3 sick days a year.
Yeah. And I was just
like, how crazy is that?
And they were going to cut back vacation time. And I was just, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I'm done. I think we really need to choose one. And it's when we were like starting to do a little bit better on Chatterbait. And I was like, I think this could be a thing. I told him that I think we should do it full time. He told me, I don't know if you can handle that mentally.
Yeah.
And I said to him, I want to try my best. I want to, you know, we're the same age. You know, that's something I haven't really discussed, but you know, we weren't getting any younger at the time. And I was like,
if we're going to sell out, we got to
do it
now.
now.
Yeah.
You know? And so, yeah, I was just like, you should quit your job and we should.
And I refused to.
And we should move to Vegas. And he thought I was like, insane.
I thought she was.
He thought I was crazy. And
Jill wanted to buy a big house.
He was like, you can't handle this.
Fill it with women. She had this fucking idea that was insane. And I think a lot of other men would quickly have agreed to it. But it kind of goes back to, I was raised.
He knows me.
Well, I know you, and I was raised in a household with, most of the time, it was just my mom and my sister. And I personally know that when you live in a house with more than one or two women, you will go insane. And the idea of me living with other women in a house, although it sounded glamorous and like I was going to get a lot of pussy, I like staunchly refused. I was like, no way am I going to do that.
Well, anyway, he knows I have my moments, right? With camming, I've had my
moments too.
High moments and low moments.
Jill, I've literally cried in the shower after one of our shows.
He has.
Yeah. So I don't.
We've had shows that we've been really happy about and not so happy about. But when you do enough shows, that's going to happen.
I have Jackisms. They're like phrases I say all the time. And one of them is the highs are high, the lows are low. That's sex work for you.
Mm-hmm.
No, I did not cry because of something you said, Gazebo. You've never made me cry. So yeah, Jill eventually convinced me to quit my job, and I can't emphasize enough. I was kicking and screaming and refusing to. I had worked that job 9.5 years. I was on the cusp of getting 10 years at that job and getting 4 weeks of vacation, which our European counterparts kind of just start out with. In the US, 2 weeks of vacation is standard. And so at 5 years, you get an extra week. And at 10 years, you get another week. So I remember my boss looked at me, he goes, you're about to get to 4 weeks of vacation. You sure you want to do that? I was like, I have to, you know? But I was not sleeping. I was the last 6 to 8 months of my job. I was a real life zombie.
And you were
I was miserable.
He was so unhappy. And he was hard to be around because he was so unhappy.
Some of you listening may understand that a lot of things can go wrong in life. But as soon as you start losing sleep, as soon as you stop sleeping, as soon as you don't sleep, everything starts falling apart. My memory, gone.
Yes.
My attention span, gone. My mood, gone. My motivation, gone. That's what did me in the end, was anxiety, which led to lack of sleep. And so when we actually decided to move, it all happened so fast. Within a month, our lease was going to be up, and we found a house. And buying a house as a sex worker is a fucking adventure, but we won't.
We had a hard time getting a mortgage, but
it worked out.
It did work out.
The one thing I will mention is that someone from Chatterbait got on the phone.
Had to get on the phone. They asked.
Got on the phone
with underwriter.
Our underwriter. And they said, yes, these two people work for our company. Yes, these two people are hardworking. Yes, these people have employment history with us. Yes, they will continue to be working. And that's one of the main reasons why we were able to get, because when you're getting a mortgage, you need letters from all your employers, because we were moving states. And when you move states, your underwriter gets even more strict.
Yeah.
They want to know that you'll have employment after you move. So that was an adventure, and I was very impressed that someone from Chatterbait got on the phone and vouched for us. I was like, hell, and that was actually one of the first times I was like, you know what? This platform's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because at that
they
point,
came through.
Support took days to get back to you. Chatterbait was kind of a faceless organization with very few employees. They didn't sponsor events hardly at all. So I gained a lot of respect for them after that. Anyways, that's not important for you guys to know that. That was 2019 that happened. And here we were with both with our master's degrees, quitting our jobs, starting to do sex work. Like,
and
idiots.
Our family was just like, why are you moving to Vegas? Yeah. Like, your family lives in Florida. Like,
embarrassing,
what are you doing?
Going to school and pursuing a career, and then just like,
I think that's the hardest pill to swallow for me.
Yeah,
is working like all this so hard,
wasted time and effort. Like, it's a cool piece of paper on the wall, but a lot of wasted years in that. A lot of other good things came of it, but very mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was 2019, and that was 4 months before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
That was 4 months.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a swimming pool.
It's Vegas. You got to have that.
Yeah. Why do we start talking about 2019, babe? Because we have a story in our bio, and the story ends right when things start falling apart for us, like mentally, with our jobs. I think it ends in 2017 or 20, because I didn't know how to write it. I didn't know how to explain it. I didn't know how to find the words to say it, and that's why I never added to our story, because I didn't know how to explain that I kind of couldn't keep up anymore. And I hate running from things. I've done it quite a few times in my life, but I ran from that job and I feel not good about it. So, but 2019 was the end of 2019, I should add. December 2019, to be specific, was the turning point to us doing this full time. And for the first times in our life, we didn't have normal, and first time in our adult life, we didn't have normal jobs.
It was really weird.
It was really weird. It took me about 8 months to heal, to be able to sleep through the night.
This is true.
To be able to get to bed. For whatever reason, when I lay down at night, and I still have problems, but back then I could not sleep. I can't tell you, I could not sleep. So that took me months to kind of get better at. I'm drawing a blank. When the pandemic started, it was COVID madness. Remember that interesting sliver of time where COVID was rampant and we didn't exactly know how dangerous it was? And we were like, if you get COVID, your dick might fly off. Like, they didn't know what would happen. So everyone was all like hiding. We were fucking terrified. We didn't know if we were going to get COVID. I was worried my dick was going to fly off. And yeah, it was March 2020. Yeah. And
we had just bought this house, and our plan was to do this full time. And then we felt like we couldn't.
We were all terrified and
work with people.
COVID is dangerous if you have underlying health conditions, like if you have COPD, if you're obese, if you have mobility problems, if you're of a particular age. So it's a little disingenuous to say COVID is not dangerous. It is not dangerous for people like Jill and I, in very rare circumstances it is. But we're all looking back, hindsight 2020, of course, saying, oh, maybe we overreacted a little bit. I've been way sicker than that. It was weird. It was different though.
Yeah.
Being sick with COVID's different.
The first time that we had COVID, I felt I
was on my ass for 3 days. That's like the flu, you know, it's like having food poison. Not, the symptoms aren't similar, but you're like knocked out completely. Like you're like dead to the world for those days. But afterwards, you're fine.
Totally. It is very contagious.
Very contagious.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It took me out completely for 3 or 4 days, but then I just felt crummy for a couple weeks. This last time I got it, it actually was worse than the first time.
Thank you, Yogi. And someone was asked, you know, I don't know if we need to like talk about this right now because I don't think it has to do with like our story yet, like having a child. But our plan, if we do continue this, would be to have like a shoot house or like a house where it's just
yeah, we get that question.
Which we have a separate structure right now.
We have
which is working.
An accessory structure. We call it our studio space.
And that's where she is.
It's got a few bedrooms in it. It's got a bathroom. It's got a kitchen. It's an in-law suite.
Yeah.
And so when we do work, when we do this kind of stuff,
she's with the nanny.
She's with the nanny and she is not even in the same building. And that's like a,
like level 1.
That's like a rule for Jill and I. Like, child is not on the premises when we do this kind of work.
But if we continue, then we would have to have a shoot house, like a commercial building.
Well, you know one of the things, yes.
Yeah.
But, it's a common.
Oh, I remember them.
I
don't know them personally. So
I will say most couples in the adult industry don't make it for several obvious reasons.
We've seen tons of couples come and go.
Say that for another time. I used to be way more friendly, way more engaging, way more in the community. I used to go into people's cam rooms. I used to like tip. I used to hang out at night.
Way more than me.
But all these people that we developed friendships with, they all left.
They're gone.
Most of them disappeared overnight. And I know for a fact that everyone listening, at least live right now, has had that experience on this site. They invest this time, this energy, and a lot of you financially invest in these people. And then all of a sudden they just fucking disappear. No explanation to where they go. And that after that happened, 24 times to us, we kind of became a little more like callous. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the right word for it.
If someone's
just less open to making friends because we kind of felt like all of them after the 20th one disappears, you kind of like protect yourself from getting, it's going to sound stupid, but emotionally invested with other streamers.
Yeah. It's true.
So if you're a recent cam model, you're a newer person listening and you're like, why aren't Jack and Jill friendly? That's kind of why we're not as friendly as we used to be. We're still friendly people. We just keep to ourselves a lot more now.
I mean, I can't predict what's going to happen in 5 years from now. So I definitely can't predict what's going to happen in 14 to 15 years, but I hope I'm not camming anymore because we'll be kind of ancient by then.
Yeah. I think this is a good opportunity to just like ask people if they have any questions.
Yeah, let's do that.
I can pick up at 2019.
I think we should do a part 2.
Okay.
For part 2 for when we come to Vegas.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we probably should wrap it up.
Thanks, Dav. I'm friendly to you guys, but yeah, we could figure something out. Do we hang out with a lot of other people? We don't hang out with. We don't have most of our friends are in the adult industry now.
We don't discuss specific numbers as far as money goes.
Is the money good? It's good for us, and it took years to become good. If anyone ever asks me for advice in the adult industry, my number one advice is to not quit your day job. Don't quit your fucking job.
Don't depend on camming.
And don't extrapolate. A lot of people like to say, well, we've had 20% growth year over year. We can just assume 20% growth next year. Or they assume they're just always going to make that amount. And that's
sex work doesn't work like that.
That's not how the economy works. Another really inconvenient thing people in sex work don't like to talk about is aging out. Getting old. We're getting old. Like, it's just the reality of life.
And there's always someone younger,
hotter,
just
dicks bigger,
yeah,
perkier titties,
all the time, and it's always going to be that way.
Always. And so it's important to be realistic about this. There's a window of your prime years. That's not to say you can't be in your 40s, your 50s, or whatever and be really successful. It's just a lot lower chance of happening.
Yeah.
No, our deal does not differ from any other models on the platform. You get paid exactly the same.
No. It's always been that way.
Would you say you're still in the phase of figuring things out or feeling pretty secure? We're definitely, as a couple, very secure.
Yeah.
I'm still figuring things out from a show perspective.
Mm-hmm.
That's a permanent thing
mm-hmm.
that'll never go away. But I like to think, and I don't want to speak for you, but I like to think we've had almost all the uncomfortable conversations.
We've had a lot of conversations.
And all of the fights we're going to have. Someone asked, what makes a successful cam model?
Are you asking me to answer? Or?
No, I'm looking at someone else's question.
Oh, pasta.
When we work with someone else, we pay them a percentage of what the show makes, or we guarantee them that they'll make a certain amount.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's that's the answer you're kind of looking for. So, but someone asked what makes a good cam couple, and this is like a subjective thing. And
Did they say cam couple or just
cam couple? Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you an opportunity to talk because I feel like I'm chewing people's ears off, but I'm going to lead with my first thing. The number one thing that makes a good cam couple is desperation. No one in their right mind wants, well, I think no one really aspires to do this, and you kind of have to be a little desperate to want to make money on the internet doing porn or doing whatever your show format is. So a lot of people that end up being great cam couples are people that are in a situation where they're a little more desperate than the average human, and they kind of have a fire under their ass, and they're like, yo, I have to do this to pay rent at the end of the month, or feed my kid, or save up money, or in our case, pay off our debt. So we were desperate, and that desperation makes you hungry. Hopefully not thirsty. It makes you hungry.
It makes you more relatable too. I think one thing, and I don't want to be judgmental, but a lot of young people that this is their first job starting out, like they've never had another job other than like sex work.
Those people are
very jaded,
fundamentally different than other humans.
They've never had to wake up in the morning to go to a job and answer to a boss. I don't find that very relatable, and I think that people want to watch someone that's genuine and real and honest.
So relatable. A good cam couple is relatable.
Yeah,
that's what you're saying. Yeah, they've.
Yeah, and I think you also have to respect each other on cam. There will be moments where maybe Jack and I don't agree with each other on something, or maybe we haven't had the best night before or whatever. I think that it's really important that couples like respect each other on camera.
Yes.
And if you're having a problem, suck it up and talk about it afterwards, and have a constructive conversation about like what went wrong and like how to deal with it. Because I've seen couples not respect each other on camera, and I think it's hard to watch.
This is a little off topic, but one of the dumbest things you can do is talk shit about your partner.
Mm-hmm.
One of the worst things you can do is undermine your partner to your friends, to your family. if you're talking shit about your partner, you just look like the bozo because you're with them. You chose that person. If that person's irresponsible or they're shitty, why the fuck are you with them? Sorry, I'm opinionated about that.
Well, some people are young and, you know.
Well, yeah, going back to that. So your contribution to that was relatability.
Yes.
So someone who's relatable is a lot easier to bond with compared to an 18-year-old girl wearing a pink wig doing ahigo or however you say it for 25 tokens. She may be cute, but God damn it, what do you talk about?
Some guys, that might be their thing. They don't want to talk. They just want to
totally
look and masturbate. But I think for a long-term relationship with viewers, I think they want something more than that. And I think if you want people to come back to your room, I think that's important. But that's just been our experience, I think.
Probably not, KJ, just because that's not our kind of show.
Yeah.
Can jealousy be an issue at times? It has been before. I don't think jealousy is the right word for it.
Yeah, I was going to say it's not the right word because I'm not like...
I know
what I've signed up for. And I've done a bunch of shows for years, you know? So it's very rare that I have moments like that. I think if I have, it's usually because I'm insecure about myself in a moment, or I'm just not in a good place, like mentally. But most of the time, Jack follows the rules, so I can't be upset with him because I know sex feels good. I know what we're doing. I know we're having a threesome. And as long as I feel included, it's very rare that I have that. And people are usually so respectful of me when I meet them. They're so kind to me and like respect our relationship. And I don't typically work with people that I don't think I can respect or I don't like their personality. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, maybe we'll have to focus on brevity right now. Magic, you keep putting question marks in your tip notes. I don't know what that's referring to. Downloads, you are totally correct. It's a lost art. Why did it take Jill so long to swap? What rules has he broke? You manipulated everything. All right.
I'm so hungry. Let's see. What do I answer first? Why did it take me so long to swap? I've talked about this before. Yeah, most men make me uncomfortable, especially men in this industry. I have been with my husband for so long. Like I said, I met him when I was 19. We were both 19. Yes, we did break up for a year and a half, but he is like the love of my life. And I have never felt more comfortable with him than I have with any other man. And I fully trust him. And he's like my little like Linus blanket, you know. I love doing the threesomes with him. And when it's like we have to introduce a new guy, it just throws everything off for me. I feel very comfortable in the presence of women, and I think that it really works for us. So for me, I wasn't like, oh, I got to get with another guy. Like that's not like a fantasy of mine. It never has been. But yeah, when we met Kim and Paolo, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do a swap, that's who I'm going to swap with because they're really worth it to me. And I think it was the right decision.
The question was, would you recommend investing into this business? Well, first of all, good luck finding a publicly traded business in the sex work industry. I personally don't know of any. But giving you my honest answer, I would say no. With the way payment processors are these days. And I think that sex work is super saturated at this point. I wouldn't recommend investing into sex work related business ventures at this moment. No. The OnlyFans taking off has spawned 50 fucking platforms that are just like OnlyFans. There's countless cam sites. You know, there's people that made cam sites that poured hundreds of thousands of dollars into it, and they still suck and they still get no traffic. So if they can't do it, I don't think the average person could. I'm not calling you the average person. I just, without knowing you, I would say no. Couples therapy after we're done camming. Yes, for sure. We talked about renewing our vows afterwards. Of course, Mary Jane. Thank you so much. Do any of you guys have any other questions for us before I just turn into a chat GTP bot and I just start miming its responses? Where did we get married?
We got married in Fort Bragg, California.
Fort Bragg, yeah. In a Redwood Grove. We paid $50 for a permit to get married in the woods. We were going to elope, but our family would not let us. So Jill's parents came, her sister came, my sister came, my mom came, my father did not come.
Dragon, it's kind of both. People contact us, we contact people.
Most people that work with us have contacted us. I would say
but yes,
80% of people we work with have reached out to us.
I don't
Our honeymoon was in Bali.
It was a year after we got married.
Year after we got married. Do we plan to do this kind of talk show regular weekdays? No, we don't. It will be something we do occasionally as part of other shows. But this will not be a regular planned thing. It will happen regularly. I just don't know exactly when. Do I like people new to the industry? Jill and I really enjoy working with amateurs.
There's so many questions.
But we don't like working with people that are brand new to the industry. I'm going to try to answer this really quick because Spinner, thank you so much for that huge tip.
Thank you.
Most people that end up doing adult work only dip their toes in it and they only stick around for around 6 months. The last thing I want to do is approach someone who's 2 months into their adult career, have this big scene with them where they're having sex on the internet and then 6 months later they're not in sex work anymore and they regret doing it. We've been in that situation before and it's probably one of the crummiest feelings I've ever gotten. Someone being like, yeah, I totally regret doing that with you guys. It's only happened a couple times ever. But I never want to be someone's mistake. And for that reason, we don't reach out to new streamers because I don't want them to quit 6 months from now and be like, holy shit, I can't believe I did that. When new streamers do reach out to us, we're happy to work with them. We just don't approach them for that reason alone. Do we have threesomes off camera? No, we never have. I don't have any more like space in my life for sexual activity.
Of course we remember. Oh no. Just had a baby.
She posted on Instagram text.
Oh, you guys, we're going to have to...
San Sebastian was good. It was good.
We're going to have to do a part 2 because there's so many questions that I'm not answering.
We do not have Addison on the schedule. She may have been on there briefly, but...
I would say our personal sex lives is a lot more lazier sex.
Yeah.
A lot more like just like body slapping together. A lot of like spooning sex.
Yeah. It's not lazy. There's no neck grabbing. There's no biting. It's lazy.
But I will have more orgasms typically because I'm so comfortable and I'm not worried about how my stomach looks or the camera.
Yeah.
I don't have to worry about the guest and making sure she's comfortable.
Thank you so much, Outcome.
So
Appreciate
yes, thank you, Outcome. It was nice of you to join us today.
Thank you, Bishop.
But yeah, I would just say our sex is a lot more relaxed. It's
normal.
It's not for the camera.
Y'all, porn sex is ridiculous, especially just being in this industry for almost 9 years. The kind of sex people are having on video. Okay, I'm going to tell a really quick story. that will encapsulate this. I'm talking to a gentleman on my OnlyFans occasionally, and he asks me, he's a virgin, he's in his mid to late 20s, and he's a virgin, and he wants to have sex. And he told me he's worried about his first sexual experience. And then I asked him why. And then he told me he was worried he wouldn't be able to have sex with a woman standing up. He said, I don't think I could carry a woman and have sex like that. And I said, good God, man. People don't fuck like that. And then I realized a lot of people that have very little sexual experience, they're getting their sexual experience from watching porn. And it's totally disconnected from real life. When Jill and I have sex, it is lazy. It is ugly. We are very focused on each other and each other's pleasure. But if you were a fly on that wall, you'd be
like, this doesn't look as sexy as it does on camera.
And some dude telling me he was afraid to lose his virginity because he wasn't going to be able to do a stand and carry position. I was like, bro, go touch some grass. All right, everyone. I really hope you enjoyed us talking.
Come back next time and we'll try to answer more of the questions before we continue
a little more vulnerable
where our story left off. Now you guys know a lot more about us, like really. So hopefully you still like us after that.